So the extreme damage that could do if it was not made right, if it didn't acquit the experiences of the Holocaust survivors with honor and remembrance, then it would do more harm than good. And so the responsibility for me was daunting, so daunting it put me off the project for almost 10 years until I was, I guess, emotionally ready. I've often said I had to grow up, I had to have a kid, which I had 3 years after Sid Sheinberg bought the novel for me. My first child was born, and I think I grew up overnight. And the film began to have more importance to me because it was something I wanted to leave behind for my kids. So when they said, "Dad, what did you do that I could be proud of?" instead of saying, well, all these big Gothic audience entertainments, I could say, here's a piece of history you should know about. This is something that happened to our people and to all people. And that's probably why it took me that long to make the movie.
It was the first time that Stephen had never used a storyboard, and he was very raw, very vulnerable, and quite frightened. You know, the whole crew would be there, extras, hundreds of people, and he'd say, right, where am I going to put this camera? How do I start? And then once he started, it was like, I likened him to an abstract painter. Once he had the first dab of color on, then he just went. And you really had to try and keep up with him, you know.
Stephen was instrumental in helping me create the character, I think, because I based a lot of my character on Stephen. That's how instrumental he was. He trusts the intuition of the actor, and all this anger, which you can see coming out of me now, came out of me in Krakow, and Stephen just helped me point it in the right direction. And I say just because that is his touch. His touch is absolutely magic. It's almost invisible. SS contacts list lower drawer of my desk, which you handle as cash contributions to legitimate charities, sent of course through each official's office. Dealings with our black market contacts listed as suppliers in the legitimate ledger are more complicated. What do you mean, forget it? You can't forget it. You can't forget it. It gives me a headache. Herr Director, don't let things fall apart. I work too hard. None of us had an obvious, easy path to tread. And on a daily basis, he would somehow tune into all the different temperatures of our temperaments on that day, where we were emotionally and creatively, and use it. And I remember when he was pleased, he would turn to the person standing next to him. And once I was watching a scene being filmed, and it was me, because I wasn't in the scene. I was watching someone else work, and I was standing next to Stephen. And he turned and whispered, "That's in the movie." And his phrase, "That's in the movie," is the greatest accolade, the greatest tribute he can pay to your work. That is there. That's in the movie. Now, when you are in a Steven Spielberg movie, then you know that you're probably in one of the most memorable films of the 20th century, or the most memorable ever. So to be told, what you've just done is going to be in my movie, that's in the movie, Ben, is pretty thrilling.
He was subsumed by Schindler's List. And he talked about it a lot. I know when he went to bed at night, he would tell us the next morning he would be editing the film in his head. And always thinking of stuff, always, that creative process never really shut down, you know?
I think Schindler's List is the best film I've ever made. And you know, and I'm happy about that. I'm really happy I'm able to say, admit that I've made a picture that's better than anything else I think I've ever made.
Perhaps the greatest honor of all came when Spielberg received the National Merit Cross, Germany's highest civil honor. German President Roman Herzog paid tribute to Spielberg by stating that Spielberg had contributed to a new discussion of the Holocaust in Germany.
It was a great honor that the film stimulated conversation everywhere in the world about the Holocaust, and also allowed me to create the Survivors of the Shoah Foundation, where we've already achieved, I think, 50,000 survivors on videotape testimony that will be, you know, disseminated someday in schools and Holocaust museums, colleges, and high schools around the world.
I could have got more. I could have got more.
I don't know if I just... I could have gotten more.
Oscar, there are 1,100 people who are alive because of you. Look at them.
If I'd made more money. I threw away so much money. You have no idea. If I just...
There will be generations because of what you did.
I didn't do enough.
You did so much.
Amistad, the true story of an 1839 mutiny on board a slave ship, was released in 1997. For his work, he was nominated for a Golden Globe Award for Best Director and the Directors Guild Award for Outstanding Directorial Achievement. It was producer Debbie Allen who vigorously pursued Spielberg and eventually convinced him that he had to direct the film.
Well, it's just that Debbie Allen kept saying the same thing to me over and over again. Oh, Stephen, you've got to make this movie. You've got to make this movie. And she kept finding different ways of talking me into it. And she finally said, you have to make the movie for your black kids, because she knew I had 2 black children, 2 African-American kids. And she was right. I really did make this film for Theo and Michaela.
His first reaction was just this insatiable appetite for the history of it. He wanted to know about the people. He wanted to know who were the Africans, what was their religion, what kind of songs did they sing, had they ever seen white people? You know, what was going on in the Supreme Court? Where were we historically with the abolition of slavery? How many years were we before the Civil War?
Yeah, I thought it was a story that had to be told. I thought it was also a very compelling piece of American hyphenate African history. Very, very compelling story. And I'm really attracted not by messages as much as I'm attracted by good stories. And I don't care where the story takes place or who's it's about. If I find a good story that really, won't lay off me, won't leave me alone, then I can't leave it alone. I have to make the movie out of it.
We won't be going in there alone.
Alone, indeed not. No, we have right at our side. We have righteousness at our side. We have Mr. Baldwin over there.
Give me Baldwin. I met my ancestors. I will call into the past, far back to the beginning of time, and beg them to come and help me at the judgment. I will reach back and draw them into me, and they must come. For at this moment, I am the whole reason they have existed at all.
Stephen could probably have been a writer or half a dozen other things, but he never, I don't think he's ever thought of anything else but film since he was 8 or 9 years old, So it's in his genes, it's inbred, and so clear when you're with him on set.
I'm neither friend nor foe of the abolitionist cause. No, I won't help you.
Sir.
What?
I know you, Mr. President. I know you and your presidency as well as any man, and your father's. You were a child at his side when he helped invent America. And you, in turn, have devoted your life to refining that noble invention. There remains but one task undone. One vital task the Founding Fathers left to their sons before their 13 colonies could precisely be called United States. And that task, sir, as you well know, is crushing slavery. Your record confirms you're an abolitionist, sir, even if you won't. And whether or not you admit it,
Mr. Joseph,
you belong with us.
You want to explain the math of this to me? I mean, where's the sense of risking the lives of the 8 of us to save one guy?
20 degrees. Anybody want to answer that?
Driver, think about the poor bastard's mother.
Hey, Doc, I got a mother, all right? I mean, you got a mother, Sarge has got a mother. I mean, I bet even the captain's got a mother.
Tom Hanks headed the cast of the 1998 release of Saving Private Ryan, the World War II story of the Army's efforts to safely return home Private James Ryan after 3 of his brothers are killed in action. The film has been hailed by critics and veterans alike as the most realistic war movie ever made. The first 25 minutes contain some of the most harrowing